In London, we have 270 nationalities and 300 languages. And if we are living in a global village, we need to know about our fellow villagers. So today, this integration dinner has been organized so that we could know about our fellow villagers. The organization which is hosting tonight's dinner is World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, which is a representative organization for overseas Pakistanis, more than 8 million overseas Pakistanis in 144 countries. As I requested and shared earlier, in fact, we're going to resume the second half of the evening with Right Honorable Simon Hughes, who is Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Minister of State for Justice and Civil Liberties. Can I request Right Honorable Simon Hughes? And before that, could I request a pin drop silence and huge applause for Right Honorable Simon Hughes?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for the invitation. Mr. President, Saj and friends, may I first also acknowledge the presence of two people who have been with us during the evening who are here. Firstly, my colleague and friend Baroness Ludford, Sarah Ludford, a colleague with Saj in the European Parliament until May of this year, member of the European Parliament for London. And secondly, Dick the Lord Newby, our Chief Whip in the House of Lords, who comes from a business background and was here for the first part of the evening. I'm going to make just a couple of very brief comments now, and I'm happy later, if the chairman allows, to take questions either personally or individually. I don't have to go off anywhere else. The couple of comments I want to make are these. Firstly, the trade between the UK and Pakistan, by the end of this year, the High Commissioner indicated, the Acting High Commissioner, and you've heard, maybe up to £3 billion. This morning, I opened a conference of people who are working in the building industry in this country, in glass and glazing, and they already every year have a business of £3 million. There is a huge potential for increase in trade between UK and Pakistan, not just for the big players, but for the medium and small companies too. Small and medium-sized enterprises will probably be the future for more employees in Pakistan and the UK than big companies. In fact, many more people in the UK work for themselves or small or medium-sized businesses than work for big companies. And so I am really grateful that your organization is not only about integrating communities, but is about making sure that people have opportunities from the diaspora community, both at home here in the UK and in Pakistan. The best initiatives are sometimes taken by joint enterprise between Pakistani origin heritage families and British origin heritage families. And we need to build up that business thing. That's the first point. The second is I want to follow a point made by the Deputy Prime Minister in answer to the first question. We are still in danger in this country of young people growing up separately if they come from a Muslim Pakistani background or if they come from a non-Muslim, non-Pakistani background. In London, it is much more mixed. But in northern cities and northern towns, it is less mixed. One street is Pakistani, one street is British. One part of town is Pakistani, one part of town is British. One part of the city has the mosques, one part of the city has the churches. We must work harder from a very young age to make sure children are brought up together. From a very young age. I respect absolutely the opportunity of parents to bring up their children in the faith that they believe is the faith of the Prophet Muhammad, grace and peace be upon him. I respect that completely. But I also understand, as somebody who comes from a Christian background, that the three great world faiths, three Abrahamic world faiths, three faiths which have a common location in their history. And like many of you, I've been to the burial place of Abraham and Sarah in Hebron. If the three world faiths cannot teach respect to each other, if we cannot educate about the complexities of Islam and the complexities of Christianity and the complexities of Judaism, how on earth do we expect the rest of the world to be peaceful? If we, the three protagonists of the three world faiths, cannot teach peace, not only in our communities, but across the religious divide, sisters and brothers, we're not likely to win an argument that says that the world must be respectful and we must end conflict and war. And the third point is this, and it relates to the ISIL question asked by the sister over there. Before Pakistan was independent, when Pakistan was part of the British Empire, when it was part of India, before partition, most people thought that battles, wars, were about territory. Where would the divide be? That's why there is still the unresolved question of Kashmir. It was a question of where the boundary would be. That's where some of the issues between Pakistan and Afghanistan have been. Where is the boundary? Most of the wars in the world now are not caused by boundaries. They're not territorial wars. They're wars waged by fundamentalists against pluralists. They're ideological wars. They're wars waged by people who say, I am right and therefore you must be wrong. My friends, look, I respect completely the faith of the billions of people in the world. 2.5 billion Muslims in the world, I think. 6 billion Christians, 2.5 billion Muslims in the world. But it cannot be for me as a Christian to say to my sister or my brother outside the mosque or in the mosque, in the school or outside the school, sister, you're wrong. It must be for me to learn why my sister believes what she believes, and for her to learn what I believe, and understand that most of us are what we are, not by conversion, but by birth and upbringing. Most people do not choose to change their faith. Most people are brought up in their faith. And therefore to say you're wrong and I'm right. My interpretation of the Bible is perfect and yours is imperfect. My interpretation of the Quran is perfect and yours is imperfect. Seems to me to be arrogating something that both Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad did not give us to arrogate to ourselves. So we have a real responsibility. And given the Pakistani community is such a big community here, the Pakistani community has a huge responsibility to make sure that it's respectful across the denominations. So we're really grateful you're here. I've been to Pakistan. I love Pakistan. I'm going to mention one last thing, although one of my friends said I shouldn't. I said, I want to talk about cricket. What position are Pakistan in the international league table? And he said, I think they're 7th. They may be a bit higher, but they're not at the top. 6th, thank you. When I was in Pakistan, one of the most exciting moments of my life wasn't going to Islamabad, wasn't going to Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir, wasn't going even to wonderful restaurants in Lahore or the Red Fort. One of the most exciting moments, do you know what it was? It was going to the international cricket ground in Lahore, where they opened the gates and turned on the lights specially for me. I have rarely had such a wonderful present in my life. And I just want to end with this little tiny thought. One of the things that produces the maximum of cooperation and integration is the arts and culture and sport. Are the times when we come together not to talk politics or religion, not to do trade and to do business, but to watch dancing and hear music and read poetry and enjoy literature and play sport. And I'm so grateful, Deputy High Commissioner, that the relations between the UK and Pakistan give such an importance to education and culture and music and drama and literature and sport, and that the British Council is extending its work. We have a new Deputy High Commission office opening this year in Lahore. The British Council is doing more. We have a great past, Pakistan, UK. I think we have a greater future, and it's a greater future together. Thank you very much for your contribution to this country as well as your own.